Friday. Oh, yes, a sexy Friday. And all your picks are coming your way. RawMikeRichards.com. Broadcasting live from the DKI studios in downtown Toronto. From the Pacific Junction Hotel, 234 King Street East in the Big Smoke. A lot of smoke today. I think it's minus 24. I know what you're saying in other parts of the country. Wah. Oh, Toronto. Minus 24. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? Trust me. Dave and I understand. If you're on the East Coast, the, what do they call it? The winter bomb? This is not good. We mentioned at the end of the show yesterday about the Bruins not having a game. Canceled. I was like, why? Kind of got on them a little bit. Oh, too much snow. No, it's worse than that. Actually, it is quite bad. And actually talking to our guys at DKI, they're pretty much on standby on the east coast of Canada as their membership. That's what they do for a living. This is kind of what it's like for them. You hear of something generally that's really terrifying and bad, whether it be the fires that we've seen in, Fort Mac or in Kelowna, or what happened with rain that they've had in, Windsor, the flooding that goes on. This is what our sponsors, this is what they do for a living. I mean, trust me.
When people are leaving ravaged areas, these guys are doing the opposite and coming in to fix it.
It's true. Our good friend Stu Ball, he's got a family and was planning on doing something last summer. No, that wasn't going to happen. Kelowna, I guess, not Kelowna, but it was Kamloops.
Yeah.
It's Kamloops.
In that area.
Took care of that. And so this is what they do. And as I said, how does a company like that tie into what we do for a living, especially when it's mostly about sports? Well, sports are not played when that's coming. So you just wonder coming up. It won't necessarily affect any of the football games this weekend. But imagine, how does the NFL then, let's say that were the case, Dave. Let's say you're playing in Foxborough. What do you do if a nor'easter, as they call in that part of the world, comes in and wipes you out? It is of significance. And as you know, if you bet on sports, the weather at times is a huge player in that. So once again, how does DKI tie into what we do? It would be that. You're watching RawMikeRichards.com, also on the dedicated YouTube channel. We appreciate all those who have joined us lately, and apparently the last couple of days. That'd be a lot. Very happy with the response we're getting to this show. And today, we're going to call one of our friends, Warren Saku. As you know, longtime baseball guy. He's worked for Rogers covering the Blue Jays and also a former player himself. But there was a passing in this area, Etobicoke, of a major baseball coach. I'm looking for Warren Saku. There they Oh, look at you. That's like did you steal a lot of bases when you played? Because you got a huge jump on me on that one.
I was crafty stealing bases. I wasn't necessarily a base stealer, Mike.
No, I didn't think so. Well, hey, thanks for joining us here today. Sort of the circumstance, not the greatest, but I will say this. When an individual passes, I think, there's that initial shock, there's hurt, and there's a mourning process. We just saw that with Johnny Bauer, with literally the entire hockey community and the I would say almost the whole city of Toronto, whether you were a hockey person or not. But then there's also the acknowledgement of what they did as human beings. And the passing of Whitey for you was very personal. And for those who don't know who we're talking about or what that significance is, why don't you explain who he was?
Yeah, sure. Thanks a lot, gentlemen. I really appreciate you having me on today. It's, I think this is really profound, Mike, because I listened to you talk about the Johnny Bauer and how you had mentioned that you would have loved to have that lunch with him. You kept talking about, gosh, if I could have seen him one more time, and then he was gone. And we always just thought that he would be around because he was always around. We always saw Johnny well. Steve Whitey Breitner was a manager for the Etobicoke Rangers and grew up playing through the Labatt Metro Major League and played for Leaside, but came over to Etobicoke when a legendary name by the name of Bob Smythe, who many might know, actually was one of the first ones to find Joey Votto. It really brought Whitey over, and Whitey started to craft the legend of Steve Whitey Breitner as the leader of the Etobicoke Rangers. And it just started to grow from there because for me personally, this was a program that when I finished my 9 years of professional baseball and I retired, aka retired professionally, I had a place to come home to. And I wasn't going to play any more baseball, Mike. I was done. I was like, okay, I'm not going to play. But then Greg O'Halloran, who's a name that many know in baseball, said, listen, just come out and play for the Etobicoke Rangers. I think you'll really like it. There's a group of great guys there. And it was more than that, gentlemen. It was about a bunch of excellent baseball players that excelled at the highest level. And Steve, being the manager, was one of those positive influences that just brought so much out of us. And so when I look back now, and he just passed earlier this week, and when I thought about over the holidays, I had some opportunities. There were some events. We had known that Whitey was slipping downhill. He had been battling cancer. But he had had a great year of seeing a lot of his former players and teammates and friends and family. And I shared some pictures with David Bastel. And
we're showing. We're actually, just so you know, Warren, as those are watching the program here today, we're showing some of those pictures as you speak. So people are starting to understand, the relationship he had. And there's some fantastic pictures, but we are showing them just so you know as you're speaking, as you're talking.
No, and I appreciate that. And the fact that, Greg Hamilton from Baseball Canada, and I know you know him, and many who are watching, if you don't know about Greg, I mean, this man, in conjunction with Dave Wiseman, another great baseball player out of the High Park here in the Etobicoke area, they really spearheaded with the Blue Jays, getting Whitey to throw the first pitch out. And, oh my gosh, there were hundreds and hundreds of fans and friends and baseball team members around the Rogers Center earlier this year. And the Blue Jays never allow a visiting player to catch an opening pitch, but they allowed Joey to catch the opening pitch from Steve. And you know what? It was such a heartfelt moment, and to see everybody there and wearing the T-shirts for Whitey that Mike Gauthier had so well organized to get this event going. There's so many people that I could praise, but this is an individual, when you talk about amateur baseball and you talk about even professional ranks, because Whitey got drafted by the Detroit Tigers and played in Lakeland much like I did and had an opportunity. He was a left-handed pitcher. And then he came back and he imparted and shared that knowledge with the young players. And you know what? When I look back and think about how important that is to give back to the community, Whitey was all about that.
Warren, you know what? Just listening to the story, it's almost like, in Canada, anywhere, basically in North America, you grow up playing sports or your sport of choice. Mine was hockey. I loved baseball. I played baseball as well, but you always remember that one or two significant coach or coaches in your childhood. And this guy sounds like not only was he one for you, but he was one for thousands of people in this area.
Well, he certainly was. And coaching, as you know, David, is about, it's relating to people and relating to individuals. And many of the managers and coaches that we see at the highest ranks of professional baseball, the best ones know how to relate to people. And that's the one thing, when I think back to, the moments and the memories, like driving down to Windsor. I mean, Windsor was always a hotbed of baseball, guys. Mm-hmm. And listen, we're talking like, we're staying at the No-Tell Motel down in Windsor, right? And the Carly lights are out nice and quickly, early in the day. And the boys are down there to play well and play hard, but you know what? They play hard after, and it's all done with family involved. And I think about those trips down there, and you're playing against great competition, and, there's some great amateur baseball. If you haven't gone by, Connorvale Park in Etobicoke, or if you haven't traveled around to some of these destinations, even Christie Pitts, out to East York, there's some great, to Leaside, there's some great baseball going on, and we're seeing more of this young talent moving forward. But I think back at the times when I came back, and there was a young Joey Votto, 19 years old, old, skinny kid, tall, working out with our team, playing some games with our team, the Etobicoke Rangers senior team at the time, and everyone was talking about, Joey Votto, what's he going to do? And then our good friend Greg O'Halloran was able to work with him to get him to the next level. But it was Steve and Bob Smythe and these individuals that saw talent and were able to really extract the talent and give that positive reinforcement to the players. And I have to say, my greatest memories of playing baseball across all my years outside of the Olympics were playing with the Etobicoke Rangers under Steve Whitey Breitner.
That's great stuff, Warren. And you also, I think, shine a light onto a question that I ask a lot of athletes, I ask a lot of coaches, and that is, why does a certain player from a certain area, why do we know about him? How did this player get so good? Why does this area produce a certain number of athletes that we're seeing now at the highest levels and achieve the highest of levels? Well, you just mentioned that name. I mean, you talked about Coach Smythe. You talked about some of the other coaches. You just described why we're talking about Joey Votto, and it's because of that kind of coaching, that kind of mentorship, and really, to a degree, it gets down to love of other people. And people say, well, isn't that a little over the top? Well, I come from a family of coaches and teachers, and they could not do that job, Warren, unless they had a love for other people, and that's what makes these guys special. That's what makes coaching pretty much my favorite profession, because I know what it takes to do that, and I think those that get to the professional level, they understand it. It came back the other way, and that's really what was lost. And I think that's what's hard for people today.
And true, so true to that fact is you pass that on. So I think about individuals like Denny Burney. Denny grew up in the same play. We all played on the same teams. He now runs Pro Teach Baseball, where the Blue Jays and many of the pros come back to give back to the young talent. That's run out of Etobicoke. And you think about Denny carrying on Pro Teach Baseball and the love of coaching. And then my good friend Greg O'Halloran, who's continued on and coaching other teams. We were down at the World Juniors last weekend, guys, and Mikey McLeod playing for Team Canada Juniors was one of those young players. Now, it was in hockey, but it could have been hockey or baseball. It doesn't matter, right? Play a multitude of sports, get involved, show passion, show love, and show caring for others, like you said, Mike. So well said. And, I'm going to share with you afterwards, there's a really nice article that was put up on the Canadian Baseball Network by Scott Langdon. They did that article earlier this year when we knew that Whitey was, battling cancer. I'll share that link afterwards.
Yes.
But, this is an individual that won 10 championships pitching from Pee Wee all the way up to senior. He's an Ontario Sports Hall of Fame member. Who knows down the road, maybe the Canadian Baseball Hall of Fame. You never know. I know there's so many people that I let know about your show that'll be listening today, and I know you've got some great new fans out there, but they're huge fans of Steve Breitner. And you know what? We miss him. We're going to celebrate him. But I have to say, over the past year, we celebrated his life to the fullest, and that's the way that he wanted. And I send my love to Karen, to Kyle, to Kevin, and to Kelly, his kids, because it's been a tough time. But you know what? They've had that love because of sport and team and because of Whitey.
So well said, Warren. Thank you so much for joining us here this morning. I think really important words and very special words, and we'll make sure that everybody today, certainly on my Twitter account, we'll make sure everyone gets a chance to watch this and hear this, because it is important, and as I said, words well said. Thank you so much, Warren. I appreciate that today.
All right, guys. Thanks a lot.
Warren Saku, who is, once again, one of our favorites. I mean, if you can't get the quality of a human being when you hear that.
100%.
This is where you start to understand, who in your path, in our career path, how important that is.
Yeah, Warren not only is a good person, he might be my favorite guest.
Yeah,
he's that good of a great speaker, great person. Easy to get a hold of, always looking to lend a hand, and it's no surprise that guys like him are leading the charge in the Canadian baseball community when something like this, is you can celebrate moments of greatness and all that sort of thing, but there's times like this where you have to sit down, you reflect, you celebrate a life, and these are the tough moments, and it's guys like him that lead that charge, and thanks for joining us today. You're watching
RawMikeRichards.com, brought to you by DKI Canada, who, as we said off the top of the show, when it comes to Eastern Canada and that nor'easter, as they call it, south of the border, sort of in that area, they're going to be real trouble. I mean, we're talking about Nova Scotia, PEI, Newfoundland. It's it's going to be significant. So we'll keep our eye on that, as our good friends at DKI always do. It won't affect any football this weekend, which is almost a fluke when you think about it. The kind of football, I mean, if it's a different week,
you're right.
Pittsburgh, Foxborough.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, you could be in real serious trouble with that.
Those are two of the bye week teams that because of the first and second round selections. So,
well, weather does affect the lines, and if we're talking lines, we're talking about sports interaction. And guess who?
From the frozen tundra of King Street West, or actually East.
Oh, I thought you were going to say from the frozen tundra of Stouffville, Ontario.
No, I think everything is the frozen tundra of just about everywhere across the entire North America right now, boys.
I was going to say,
lucky we're all indoors.
This is not your favorite weather. I'm just taking a wild stab, but I'm guessing you're not big on the winter activities. This is what I'm guessing.
No, I'm not a big outdoor guy. I was one of those guys when I was forced to go on a ski weekend summer. I'm the guy that sat in front of the roaring fire with as many rum and cokes as I could possibly sit on my table at one time. While everybody was out skiing, my idea of the ski trip was, as long as they had a nice roaring fire somewhere, I was going to go. And if there wasn't one, I would just set my room on fire. It's that simple.
Well, there might be some people doing that, but luckily, Stephen, and this is what you get a little lucky here. I mean, we know what's happening on the East Coast, and as they talk about it in the Massachusetts or Eastern Seaboard, they call it a nor'easter. They're going to avoid that simply because of where the games are this week. But what does the NFL do? If you get pounded, because there's been some famous games where they're playing covered in ice. I think of that Steelers, Houston Oilers. That game where basically icicles are pouring off. But if it's unplayable, what's the NFL do? I mean, it's got to be really bad for them not to play a playoff game.
I have no idea.
Yeah.
I don't think I'm not sure if it's ever happened. I mean, unless it's completely unsafe for players and fans. I mean, I would imagine they played, and like you just mentioned, they played the Ice Bowl, and if playing on a sheet of ice with leather helmets isn't dangerous, I'm not sure what would be dangerous.
So
I'm not sure if they had leather helmets back then. I might be exaggerating.
What is dangerous then? Is a -9 Kansas City, is that a dangerous line, or are you sitting there because I know you like the stinky, smelly, awful dogs? You see some numbers, you drool at the stench of that dog. Is that the case in the Tennessee game? Are you still there?
Yeah, Tennessee is a sticky. Yeah, I'm here. Are you hear me?
Yes. Yeah, we're good to go. Yes, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, the Tennessee, the eye test, the smell test tells you Tennessee's really looked bad slipping into the playoffs. But you know what, Mike? They did cover 5 of their last 6 games. They did win last week when they had to, and that's not easy to do. I think you can ask the Ravens about that one. So, yeah, I'm going to lean to a dog that can run the ball with the 8th best rushing efficiency versus the 32-ranked defense and 32-ranked run defense against the run in Kansas City. And you know what? I noticed Mariota, most of Tennessee's problems this year has been Mariota's not being healthy and hamstring problems. He did rush last week for 10 rushes for 60 yards versus Jacksonville. I think he's getting a little bit healthier. Titans defense over the last 6 weeks kind of come alive. Have held opponents to 17 points. KC 1-6 against the spread their last 7 playoff games. Tennessee has covered 5 of their last 6, and 6 of their last 7 versus teams with a winning record. You know what? It's definitely not my favorite, Mike. And there's only 4 games in the card. You don't have to bet every one of them.
Yeah.
But Kansas City's been too up and down for me. Surprisingly, they were 10-6 against the spread, which might surprise you based on what their up and down season. I think Tennessee can control clock a little bit. I know DeMarco Murray's hurt, but Henry's a great running back. I think they can control the clock a bit and stay within this 8.5 points and cover.
Yeah, I'm with you there. So what do you think about the total? If they start pounding that ball, which tends to happen in some of these playoff games, are you interested in the under at all in this? It's right now it's at 44.
Not as interested as I am in some of the other totals this week.
Yeah.
Like I said, not really got a good feel for this one. Tennessee will be running the ball. Kansas City will be probably running the ball. Yeah, and without bad weather to be in effect here as far as rain, wind, I'm not sure this total is really attainable. Probably the under is where I lean, but this number has not moved at all. It opened 44. It's been 44 all week.
When you talk about the Titans, Steve, and good morning, sir. When you talk about the
Good morning,
Titans,
David.
can the same thing be said about the Buffalo Bills, where it's a larger number? They're playing against a team that should win. The home team should win this game, but it is over a touchdown mark, and the Bills are pretty excited about being in the playoffs. It only happens once every 2 decades. So, do they cover this number?
David, where would you like to begin listing the red flags that jump out as a gambler on this one? I mean, you want Blake Bortles and the Jaguars trying to fill your wallet as a 9-point favorite, or the decades of Bills futility with a very questionable Shady McCoy and no passing game?
Yep.
I'm not really interested in this game either. There is something I'm interested in this game anyway, and that is the total. I don't see a Bills offense that finished second last in pass completions per game doing anything against Jacksonville defense, who allowed the league low passing yards. But why I find this total interesting, it's very low at 39, and I think this one could go over. If the Bills are forced to pass and they turn it over multiple times to the Jags, that turns into some easy points for Jacksonville. On the other side, you never know what you're going to get from Blake Bortles. Throw 5 picks in the last 2 games. And finally, when 2 teams clash in the playoffs, averaging less than 40 points combined, the over is 40-17-1 since 2001. See, what happens here in totals in these scenarios are usually shaded to the under because the public sees these 2 bad offenses, the Jacksonville good defense, so they're going to shade that to the under, and that's where you get the low number. But a lot of turnovers create offensive opportunities. I lean to Jacksonville in the game, but I just don't trust Blake Bortles with my money and 9 points. I do think that turnovers will create points, and I'm actually leaning pretty heavily on the over 39 in that one.
We're talking to Stephen Rapp here on rawmike.richards.com. Remember, still available, Dave, on Sports Interaction. They're just waiting to not only take the action, but give you money to do it, Dave.
No, that's exactly it. So you log on to sportsinteraction.com. First-time deposit, they'll match you up to $200. But the key is, and you know this, Stephen, when you sign up, you gotta fill out that one page. It's really quick. It's pretty simple stuff.
Just a pull-down menu.
And at the bottom, it's a pull-down menu. Where did you hear about us? There's a column, rawmike.richards.com. You click on that, and they top you up right there. So you put the deposit of $200, you get the extra $200, you're good to go for the postseason. Hockey playoffs are coming up in a couple of months. The All-Star Game's here. Everything's happening. This is the time to do it. If you haven't done it already, get on it right now, sportsinteraction.com.
You might want to take some of that money and take a look at that New Orleans game. And when you do research, when you handicap, when you take a look at these teams, boy, I'll tell you, everyone and their mother really seems to be on New Orleans. There doesn't seem to be a lot of people on Carolina, which is sort of interesting. They've already beaten them twice. -6.5. It's under a touchdown. The total is 48.5. How do you see it? Right there. Stephen Rapp.
Yeah, this game's seen some professional money, Mike. Jacksonville's seen a little bit of professional money. New Orleans has seen a little bit of professional money. That's why you've seen it go from 5.5. And it did touch the key number of 6 there for a while. That's the resistance where the buyback will be. Once it hits 7, there was buyback on Carolina. So as you say, now it's just at 6.5. The Panthers have teased us over and over that maybe that 15-1 team from 2015 lurked somewhere in those shadows. But coming down the stretch, they failed to cover 3 of their last 5. They did not look very good when they needed wins versus Tampa and Atlanta. The Saints have beaten the Panthers handily twice this season, covered the spread both times. They've covered 6. They've covered the last 6 versus the Panthers. And I'm going to trust Drew Brees at home against the Carolina defense and struggle against the pass the last 3 weeks, allowing the league worst 300 yards per game. And, this is not going to be a shock to you or anybody else that's betting this game. I'm going to be looking at the over of this game, total of 45.5. Both matchups this season went over. 6 of the last 7 meetings have gone over. Last season's playoff games in domes went 5-0 to the over. Last 33 closed dome playoff games have gone 25-8 to the over. And finally, Cam Newton is 14-4 to the over on the road with a total of higher than 47. There's a whole bunch of trends that says over. That usually means it goes under, but yeah, whatever. I'm leaning to the over in this game as well. That shouldn't be a shock. This one should be a shootout, obviously.
And we talked the Rams. We haven't talked Rams yet, have we?
That's a Saturday night game. Yeah,
Yeah.
the 8:35 game on Saturday night. Rams and Falcons.
5.5. What do you think? Is that a reasonable number for the Rams at home?
Yeah, I'm not going to overthink this one. I've been overthinking the Rams all year long. It's cost me. They've proven to be the more consistent team of these two all year, and I think sometimes you have to believe what you see. So Atlanta's been very inconsistent. They've never really found that rhythm under the Steve Sarkisian offense. Now you get Steve Sarkisian as an offensive coordinator in his first playoff game, and he gets a duel against the master Wade Phillips. This line opened Rams 5. It's gone up to 6.5 on solid public action. I do see now it's back down to 5.5, so we found that sharp resistance as well. The Rams have been money, covering 6 of 8 as a favorite, 4 of their last 5 of their straight-up loss. And the Falcons have failed to cover their last 4 as a dog, and they've covered only 1 of their last 6 on the road while going 3 of 3 straight up. I lean to the Rams here as well. I don't like favorites, but I think the smell test, eye test on wild card games, if you just remember, it seems like the favorites just really kind of clean up on wild card weekend, and I lean to the favorites doing the same this weekend as well.
Well, it's going to be an interesting weekend, a great one, as you said. It could be an old rum and coke weekend. What do you think?
Yeah, it's rum and coke, fucking soda, beer, basically anything that will make you forget that it's minus 1,000 outside.
Exactly. Hey, Stephen, thanks so much. Have yourself
When
a
they
great
say
weekend.
warm in the cockles, Michael. Warm in the cockles.
Oh, I'm big on cockles. Thanks so much, Stephen. And
Careful with that pronunciation.
Thanks for saying
eh?
Thanks for saying cockles on the show. That's how you end it.
I was like, make sure you finish that complete word.
Yeah. How dare you, Stephen Rapp? That's an abomination. Saying the word cockles on an immature show like this. There are the numbers. And, you know, I think a lot of people, if I'm looking at sort of public money or public trend, I would say that the Rams would be in that party. I would think that New Orleans, depending on the number you got, is going to be in that party. The one that really seems to be a little bit of a separator for me is just that minus 8.5, minus 9, where you feel that's just how strongly do you feel about Blake Bortles covering that number? Because that number is so low, the total at 39. Because if he goes, he's capable of all of a sudden having this huge game. They could get 39 points on their own.
Yeah.
You just don't know.
I'm not a major total guy, but when I'm looking at the 4 games, and I know we'll discuss it a little bit later on here, I got 3 teams in points because I think playoffs are usually 'tis the season to accept those points, and because I when I look at that, out of the 4 favorites, my strongest bet is Rams to win and cover.
I think that would be number 1 in people's books, so to speak. And once again, speaking of books, make sure as you're watching this, you want an extra up to $200. So if you feel like putting $100 down,
you get another 100.
You're getting another 100.
Yeah, we use the example of 200 because it is the maximum amount you're allowed, and it's almost like, how much free money do you want? Do you want 50? Okay, well, bet 50. And you'll get 50. If you want 200, then you have to put down 200. That's kind of how it works. And if you wanna maximize an offer like we do on the show, because we are maximum bettors.
Oh, we just like maximum everything.
Over the top, yes. Put the 200, get the 200, you get 400, you get to play with that. You don't have to spend it all in one weekend. You can spread it out. You manage it properly. And Sports Interaction, much better numbers than ProLine. We talk about the ProLine comparisons. I've done this for an entire month just as a little bit of an example to friends that are like, why should I go to sportsinteraction.com?
Just to show the value.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You bet the 4 games this weekend. I challenge you to do this. And do it, send it to me, and if I'm wrong, I will read it because I will not be wrong. Bet the 4 games on how you want to do it, point spread or ProLine or however. And then bet the 4 games on Sports Interaction. Put $5 or $10, whatever you want, but you have to use the same amount because that's how you figure out exactly where the value is. 10 out of 10 times, sportsinteraction.com will give you more money for that valued bet. And that's it. So if you want a better value bet, you go to sportsinteraction.com. If you don't, if you want to go to the corner store, that's up to you. I'm not saying that don't do it because I've done it in the past and I'll probably do it again.
You're going to a house that, look, the house always wants you to lose anyways. I don't care who you're talking about. The house always wants you to lose. They want your money. But it's so obvious when you play games like ProLine or in Western Canada, you play Sports Select, and you know that I played these and won money.
Yep.
I have won money off it. But it's really hard, and you're just looking at some of those numbers. You're like, why would I run down to the local Max or 7-Eleven when I can stay at home, log on, put a couple, do one game if you want, like whatever it is.
Exactly, and that's the love of it too. When you look at Sports Interact, you can go out and say, you know what, I only like one game this weekend. I like the Rams. I'm betting the Rams and $5, whatever it works out to. You can't do that at ProLine. You can't do that with Sports Select. You don't have that option. They just don't work like that. That's just not what they do. So this option, you can bet 10 games. You could bet 1 game. You could bet 5, whatever you want.
Yeah.
Any kind of dollar value as well.
Other things you can't do when you go to the store. Russell tells me his routine. He just goes on. He logs on. He has a little bit of a drink. He's looking at the numbers, little red tube. Ooh, what's going on over there?
Okay,
then
I didn't know this.
let's put a little wager on the Rams or probably the Maple Leafs. And he go, ooh, what's that on milfhunter.com? Oh, yeah. You can do, if you do that at a max, they're going to ask you to leave. They frown on that, but not here.
We're giving you a lot of different examples of how to use your time properly, and we recommend however you do it, sportsinteraction.com. Do it. Do it now.
Yeah. By the way, do you have happy endings today? Does your microphone, do we know if it works? Because we had to completely refigure the studio today. You were like a pit guy at the Daytona 500 the way you did that. Yes. Let's see if that's working. Let's see if the rust cam's working. And, oh, man.
Yeah, looking good. A little bit of fog, a little bit of haze. I like it.
Yeah.
From the light. But, yes, I do have my picks today.
You got happy. We won't, by the way, have the sexy picks of gold sex. Because we're just going to have Victor come in today at some point.
Okay.
That's what we're going to do. By the way, I see the people just sort of really digging when we're putting the old-time hockey out there. Although there was, it's funny. Someone commented, and it's usually of a certain age group. They're like, "Why are people so in love with old-time hockey? It's disgusting."
Because it's awesome.
It's disgusting. He said.
Well, then.
Like Russell, you're of a certain age group. When you see what they classify as old-time hockey. Like, what is your impression of that? Do you not like it, or does it just look bizarre? No helmets.
I think the main thing is that it looks really different. Like, all the fights that are happening, like, I love going back and watching the videos of them. But if I was watching a Leafs game today and there was 5 or 6 line brawls in one game, it would get tired I'd get tired of it if it was happening all the time. But I don't mind going back and looking at old-time hockey. Like, it's amazing.
But it is interesting that he puts it that way, because if I knew that there are going to be 5 or 6 line brawls, I'd have season tickets. I'd pay anything for that. I mean, it's like Gladiator, right? I want to see heads lopped off. I mean, I played Junior C hockey. Trust me, it's not that far from Braveheart.
I played in Manitoba.
Yeah, so there's all of a sudden, where'd that guy's head go? I don't know. It's not a penalty. Didn't see it. Shoot the head. And back in the day where there wasn't okay, here's you're talking about old-time hockey. And this one's a beauty. Now, I'm going to start with the softer of the two.
I'd have season tickets might be the quote of the day.
This is unbelievable, because when I think of Bobby Orr, I rarely think of him getting tossed. Like, if I think of the Bruins and nastiness, there was O'Reilly going over the boards, that famous clip. In fact, that's coming up. The anniversary of that game's coming up will show it. But when I think of Bobby Orr, I think of him rushing the puck, going through the whole team, and scoring. It's basically what he did all the time. So what happens when he's performing what I like to call the Bobby Orr? A brutal trip is going to come out. It's so obvious. The referee doesn't call it. So what do you think the reaction is?
Come on, Stripes!
Yeah, well, if you're in the Boston Gardens, you might have wanted to call that a trip.
1:05 left in the game. Play in the Boston end as Marcotte starts it out. Marcotte to Orr. 58 seconds left. Orr. Quick shift on White is stripped. And Orr up to protest to Harris.
Vigorously. Here's Espo. And there he is. Now Sinden in the plaid. Leaning over.
Harris has given him his conduct to Esposito.
And maybe to Bobby Orr. I don't know, Fred. He sort of motioned to 2 players. I don't know whether he gave it to both of them or not, but there's one going to go for sure.
Yeah. In Boston, these guys won't get out alive. They won't get out.
Wait and see. 50 seconds left to play in the third period. Boston trailing by 1 goal, 2-1.
Oh.
They've put a lot of pressure on Chicago from the second period on, but have only been able to put the puck by Tony Esposito just once. That was Shepherd, his 5th of the year from Orr at 5:14 of the second period. Chicago scoring.
Great Bruins jerseys, by the way. I love the
There's
Bruins
Harry
white.
Sinden looks sharp in that.
Yeah. He's not too pleased out with the proceedings.
Oh. I don't remember this.
I grabbed that stick.
Dave's thinking of the money. Get the stick. Marissa, get the stick.
The play developed at the Chicago blue line.
Okay, so we're going to have to ask, we always go, Liam McGuire.
Yes.
And go, okay, how many times, like, did we see this? What was the story behind the? He'll say, well, actually, Mike, the broken stick was actually picked up by a guy named Lou Sniglitz. Now, Lou Sniglitz played in the, you know what I mean? He just, Liam.
He's kind of like the cool version of Cliff Clavin when it comes to hockey trivia.
He knows. He knows every. Remember Stump the Schwab?
Yes, he would stump him.
Yeah, he would too. And our good friend Kevin Gibson actually is not bad at that stuff either.
He'd be very good too. No, I credit where credit's due, right?
But just then Gibby would always want to hijack the show. I can't believe he's not even.
And
if we had a phone line to be calling him right now.
And then he'd be going up to ESPN. Maybe it should be called Stump the Gibby. No, maybe you should sit down.
Yeah, run your marathons. Just run the marathons, no talking.
You know what I haven't heard from you yet today, which I'm kind of disappointed at
What's
because
that?
it's already 51 minutes after the hour. Al Montoya got traded yesterday, and you have not said a thing.
No, I didn't. I did not realize that.
I was gonna say the Edmonton Oilers picked up Al Montoya. It happened late at night. I got the notice about 11:30 on NHL.com. The Oilers acquire Al Montoya from the Montreal Canadiens for a 4th-round pick. So,
well, on Monday maybe he'll phone us.
I was gonna say when he actually lands in Edmonton,
Yes.
and you know Al's not gonna be too happy about that. You go from Montreal to Edmonton.
Yeah.
I'm talking lifestyle. I'm not talking.
But Al
teams.
Montoya has seen a lot of the North America, I would say. So we'll talk to him. So there's our first guest.
Yes.
There's your first guest on
Monday morning.
On Monday. We talked about old time hockey and some fights.
Tell me.
I forgot that Craig Berube was as big as he was. Like it just time goes by and you kind of forget. Now, granted, Ty Domi's not 6'4".
No.
So there is that.
But he's built like a tank, right?
But I've said time and time again that skull of Ty's, and we'll have to get him on the show because
it's enormous.
It's unbreakable.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm pretty sure you could take a brick, smash it on his forehead, and he's going to stare at you and going, "What was that for?" Like you just don't do it. And so Berube, this is back when. So he's playing for the Flames at this point. Ty Domi playing for the Rangers. Shenanigans ensue, and you got to watch how the fight ends because this is so Ty. Even if they're breaking up, like he's got to get a shot in there, right? That's what the guys who fight, they need to win. Even if it looks like it's going to be, even. No, it's not. You got to watch Ty Domi. He's going to get one in there. Here it comes.
Berube was on the left side, switched to the right side. The Domi switched to the right side. They look at one another, and they're going to go. The whole joint standing up for this thing. Linesman may jump. Oh, no, here they go.
Here they go. Here they go.
You see where Ty is unable to get his left hand free so far. Well, he got it loose now.
But look at the height differential.
Berube's one tough dude. He's staying back.
Ty's hanging in.
Man. Rangers had their goaltender run, and Roger Nielsen went to one of his strengths.
Refs want to step in.
On the ice.
Ty's in there. Well, the crowd chanting Domi. And watch as they break it up. Watch. And he got one in, and down he goes. Right at the end.
What I don't like, John, is that this could have been avoided if Berube had been given a penalty for running the goaltender.
Into the goaltender.
No, I understand that, and that's probably true. But if you're talking to Ty Domi, it doesn't matter because just as they pull them apart, boop. Why, you son of a... We got to get Ty on the show, actually. He's awesome.
After some of these, yeah, because all you have to do is look on YouTube and you could probably find, I don't know, another 100 videos of Ty Domi doing something.
Yeah. And
it was so funny. Quickly about Ty Domi.
Yeah.
Ty Domi came over with Chris King for Ed Olchuk in a major deal the Jets did to strengthen up the team and to bolster a team. You talk about that. Bringing in strength of Ty Domi and Chris King to strengthen a team might be one of the best trades ever made by the Winnipeg Jets. They kind of took over the city. They were loved. There was posters that said Ty and a King. It was amazing how loved these guys were because for the most part, enforcers not only are the heart and soul of the team, the guys that are going to stick up for everybody from top to bottom on the roster, but the ones the fans love the most and interact the most with them. no better than Ty Domi in Winnipeg. I know Toronto loves him.
Yeah.
You heard what
Yeah.
happened at MSG in
yeah.
New York. I mean, these guys are beloved, and you know what? The Domi guest would be a very good idea.
You know who we need to have back on? I was thinking about this the other day because it's going to come up to a year, and every once in a while, like Rusty put together all those great
best ofs,
and there was a lot I kind of forgot about. McSorley was great.
Yes,
I'd like Marty back on, and so was Bernie Nichols. Bernie Nichols was awesome.
Bernie was, yeah.
So we got to get those guys back on. Now, as we mentioned, there'll be no gold sex, but that doesn't mean, Dave, as the limousine.
Yeah, absolutely. He's pulling up right now,
coming up, and
for the first time in 2018, we welcome to the studio rawmikeRichards.com from the set of The Young and the Restless. It's Mr. Victor Newman. Victor, good morning and Happy New Year.
Well, that was a damn long intro.
It was. I was just waiting for some music.
I was going to say Russell's mustache was getting longer, but we know that's not true. That is an embarrassment to all of those who wear a mustache.
That's true.
You look like someone who would play on the LPGA, all right? All right, let's get down to the picks, all right? Here's what I'm thinking right now. I don't give a damn what Stephen Rapp says. Why would I listen to a damn idiot who's 105 years old?
He is old.
End it, Stephen. New Orleans is minus 6.5, and I don't give a damn. They say it's difficult to beat a team 3 times. It's not when you're playing Carolina, even though, as you know, David, Cam Newton is a good friend of mine.
He is.
And I think a lot of what he does, but they're not going to do it, and I like New Orleans at minus 6.5. Also, people talking about Buffalo and Jacksonville. Blake Bortles, keep in mind, is playing for his own reputation and his own damn job. Something that Russell knows nothing about, which is why he gets sloppy with his little pubic hair mustache, all right? So you listen to me. If it's under 10 points, I'm trusting that man to keep his job and keep Eli from not wearing those.
Really?
I'm going to take the damn minus 9, and you can even get minus 8.5. It's not going to matter. Consider under 10 points a victory. In short, for victory is Victoria.
Yes, that's true.
By the way, how is your damn sister-in-law?
Really good. She says hi.
Yes, I wanted to tell I left my watch on the nightstand. Huh?
Oh, you did. I consider it lost.
Los Angeles Rams minus 5.5. What do you have to think about? They're the damn better team. Atlanta, they make me sick. They're going to lose. Take the Rams. Also, Tennessee at Kansas City. Why the hell am I going to trust Kansas City with 9 damn points? I'm simply not going to do that. Even though Tennessee are a bunch of bohunks, take them. Plus 9 points, you're going to take that one to the bank. And finally, Wisconsin in college basketball, playing at Rutgers. Rutgers not that good. In fact, anyone can get in Rutgers. Russell's parents went to Rutgers.
They did. I didn't know that. The things you learn.
Well, when I was talking to her back in the day, that's where she went to school. She made other disappointments later, but that's not up to me. Minus 2 in basketball. And finally, the championship game in college football. I'm taking Alabama at minus 3.5. My heart says Georgia, but as you know, Victor Newman sometimes doesn't have no heart. And that's how you win at business. And that's how you win at love. Play tough. And that's what Alabama can do. Minus 3.5, they will become the national championships. And that is over Victor Newman. By the way, David, say hi to your mother for me.
I will. Thanks, Vic.
Now shut the hell up and do the show.
Victor Newman, usually heard every single Thursday. Today we have him on a Friday on Wild Card Weekend, right here on rawmikeRichards.com. So, first time in 2018, eh?
Yeah, that was pretty good.
I'm surprised you
said
didn't.
some mean things, though, I thought about
did.
roast beef. That's not right at all.
No. And we stand for.
I like that.
Protect them.
I like that mustache.
Yeah.
Like a lot of people have been talking about it in the bar, like the guy over there in the corner who has just soiled himself. He was saying just how great that mustache looks.
Yeah, it's the guy you want on your side.
So I think it being Friday, and this is also the first time in the new year, and people are going to be excited about that because, as you know, that means it's time for Dave Bastel's Foreplay.
Foreplay. Oh,
okay.
I think
All right. So this is the first of the year. We're going to do that. You know, it does something weird.
Okay,
we're going to start all over again. Okay. Here we go.
Okay. And I sent you those picks to email there, Russ.
2018.
2018, take 2.
David Bastel, and action.
It's Friday, and you know what that means. A little full play with Dave Bastel. He gonna give you some full play you won't forget. Brought to you by Sports Interaction Canada's online sportsbook. Yeah. Give it something to me, big sexy.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, there you go, exactly. And a shout out to Mike Locke. Happy New Year, and great voice over there. Wild card weekend. I'll go through the 4 games I like. I kind of hinted at some of my picks to begin with. So let's start off with that Tennessee-Kansas City game. I like the Tennessee Titans in this one. You get 9 points.
Yes.
You know what? Kansas City may win this game, but 9 points? Wow. And like Steven Rapp said, they've covered 5 out of the last 6 games, playing for something right now. Everything's on the line. Running matters, and this team is much better on the ground than the Chiefs are. Take the Titans plus the 9 points. I like the Rams in the Saturday night game. Rams might blow them out, actually. This might go double digits, so you only have to give away 5.5. Take the Rams. On Sunday, I'll cross my fingers and say Buffalo Bills.
Oh.
I'm not 100% convinced of this, but if I have to bet, which I do, I will pick the Buffalo Bills on Sunday. Also, Carolina and 6.5 points is too tempting to me. I will say Carolina right now, and I will solidify that on Sunday by saying Carolina plus 7, because a lot of the numbers, Mike, are moving right now. And if this hits a touchdown mark, you got me sold. Right now, I'm on the fence. You got me sold once it hits 7 points. So I like the Panthers and the 7. I think the Saints win this game. And you know what? The Saints might be the second best team in this conference next to the Minnesota Vikings. They will move on. But don't sell yourself short on the Los Angeles Rams, because they're my favorite team to watch. I can't wait for it. I hope this team lasts a while.
As I said, that's the shame about some of the injuries this year, and that is I wanted to see certain guys on the biggest stage. I want to see Deshaun Watson. I want to see what I wanted to see what he was going to do once it's money time, right? That I talk about that all the time. Oh, you can pay all the money you want for guys who are fantastic during the regular season in any sport.
Yeah.
So depending on what your sport is, how do you play in May?
Yeah.
Like how do you play in January? How do you play in October? Depending on what your sport is, I need to see it. And I also think that Carson Wentz, that's
a heartbreak. Exactly. And you know what? Also, for my money too, the AFC is not even close to holding a candle to what is going to be offered in the NFC in the postseason.
Yep.
If you're watching one conference and one conference only, 100% of the population should be on NFC just because of how competitive it's going to be. They got 4 legitimate teams that could win and go to the Super Bowl and actually challenge the Patriots. This will be interesting which one actually does.
Okay. So there's been so much talk about this, and I see on the internet. There's a lot of bloggers talking about it, and that is the excitement of happy endings.
Okay.
So now it's time for Russell Graham's.
And he has the right mustache for it too.
Yes, he does. Here come your happy endings.
Okay, so in the NHL tonight, I'm just picking 2 games. Vegas at Chicago.
I notice you do that a lot. You don't take 3 games. You're like, no, I'm going to take 2 games and find benefits like a couple of times with 1 game. Are you doing that again?
I am doing that again. So Vegas at Chicago. I'm taking Vegas as the outright winner.
Wow.
And I'm also taking it under 5.5. Out one, like I'm not too sure on it.
One of the highest scoring teams in the league.
See, I get Vegas the win. Are you saying puck line is it 1.5? Or just the victory?
No, just the victory.
Okay, just the victory
for Vegas.
Okay.
And the under 5.5 is a little risky.
Yeah.
But you're a risk taker.
You're dangerous.
Yes.
Dangerous.
That's what the mustache says. I'm a risk taker.
Yeah. You're maverick.
So yeah.
Whoa. Oh boy.
You're breaking stuff.
Oh boy.
Oh boy.
Is it still? Are we still running?
Yeah, I think we are.
Okay.
Still here.
Holy
smokes! Look at him. You know you're on camera right now. Okay, he just switched over to you, Mike.
Okay, and now it's back on me. But Dave, I take a look at the Vegas Golden Knights, and I say to myself, boy, they can score goals. So that's very risky taking the under. But that is the way that Russell plays. So we're still on the air. So
we're still going. So
let's pick that final pick.
My other pick, there we go, of Florida at Detroit. I am just taking Florida as the outright winner for the game tonight.
You didn't bite on the Jets game, eh? That's
Didn't bite on the
interesting.
Jets game because they're playing Buffalo, and a lot of the money wasn't great because
gonna say.
Winnipeg should beat
See,
Buffalo.
And he is.
So even the puck
he is
line
a-
wasn't any good?
Not too great. Everything was.
So you got to go 2.5, and that's tough.
Yeah, and Buffalo is coming off a 6-2 thrashing of Minnesota last night. Travel overnight to Winnipeg. That's not much of a trip. It's about 47 minutes, and they will play the Jets on the second of back-to-back nights with a backup goaltender. Everything screams Winnipeg Jets, but if there's no value there, then you look otherwise.
You're
right?
looking at -2.5.
Yeah.
Which could they cover it? They could
Yeah,
cover
I
it. They
think
could cover it by the second period. But
Yeah.
the only problem is that is a pretty risky. So I was going to play one more thing, but I think that's not safe. I think considering the fact that if this show goes out today, I got to tell you, that's just and I think Russell was just making it interesting on himself by taking the monitor that holds the computerized version of how it gets out to you and punting it like John Ryan about 5 minutes ago. So the fact that this is still going, let's get out, Dave, while the getting is good.
All right.
What? Did we just become best friends? Yep.
Yes, we did.
You want to go do karate in the garage?
Oh,
Yep.
try and stop me.
It's time!
Also, Nervecast, who does our music and our opening, and sometimes we try to get in a couple of their songs.
Tell
They're
me
like,
more.
we want to come on the show.
Okay, good.
And I said, well, we got to get them to come into, because there are other studios that we have access to, and play. We want to see them play. Even if they actually played the theme song, I think would be pretty cool. Wouldn't
play
it?
us in and out?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
You can even have breaks, too. I love it.
That would be great. So thanks to Warren Sawku. Some great words about Steve Whitey Breitner. That was awesome. The passing, this sad but great words to him. Also, Stephen Rapp from Sports Interaction with all his picks. So good luck. Dave's picks, Victor's picks. Have a great weekend. Win, baby. Just win.